Personal Injury Court.
This is the matter of Simmons versus Hargrove. Mr. and Mrs. Simmons, I've read the materials that you all have submitted to this court. It appears you all are suing Mr. Hargrove for injuries that you sustained when you went down a water slide at his park. You're asking this court to award you $200,000 in past medical expenses and $1.8 million for pain and suffering for a total of $2 million. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Hargrove, your response to this is he got what he paid for in terms of going down a water slide. This is not your fault. He assumed the risk.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, now let's get into the legal sauce. Tell me how we got here, Mr. Simmons.
Well, I'm a family man, as you can see. I went to the water park with my wife and my son, and we had planned this for a while.
How old was your son?
He's 4.
So you're a real dad.
Yo, yes, sir, yes, sir.
Okay.
And I'm a water park enthusiast. I'm known around, they call me Big Sexy.
Okay.
So,
why this park this day?
well, the park actually had a new attraction called the Devil's Descent.
Okay.
It's one of the highest slides in the state, and I had to go ahead and make sure that I could get on, especially with my son being afraid of heights.
Heights make me nervous. I did this with my own son, who's now 28, trying to prove to him that I could do it, but I didn't end up the way you did.
It was the worst day.
Now, is this what you being prepared on the day of the incident to go down the slide, is that you?
Yes, sir.
That's Big Sexy.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, and you look pretty happy there, like you're excited and ready to have a good time with your wife and son.
I was.
Was your little boy excited?
Oh, he was excited. He was running around the park. I was trying to chase him and everything, trying to keep up with him. He's my everything, Your Honor.
Now, Mr. Hargrove, tell me about your park.
Well, this park has been in my family for 3 generations.
Okay.
My grandfather started it 32 years ago, and then he passed it down to my father. I have been running it for the last 3 years. We get over 7 million visitors a year now.
That's a lot of folk.
That's absolutely a lot of folks. And with that being said, with those 7 million a year, we have no injuries.
Now, you've got this ride. What's the slide called?
It's the Devil's Descent. It's a brand new ride, and it's the new attraction. It's why everybody's coming to get a ride on that Devil's Descent.
Mr. Simmons, today you don't look as excited as you seem to be in that picture when you were about to ride the slide. Tell me how this thing happened.
I go to get on the ride. It's actually about a 25-minute wait.
Okay.
So I have my wife and my son stay at the bottom.
That kind of builds the excitement though, right?
Oh, it does. And I know he's excited. I see him down there jumping and waving, and I know I'm gonna make him proud when I go down this slide.
Now, Mr. Simmons, you submitted a few documents to the court. One is a picture of the slide. I want you, if you can, take your time, but I want you, and Sheriff Matt, if you'll help him get over to the plasma, I want you to explain exactly how this happened, because I've never been on this slide, and frankly, don't care to get on it. It's too high for me.
Yes, Your Honor.
Come on, cross over. Now, is this the slide that you went down?
Yes, Your Honor. It's about 150 feet up. So when you get at the top, you notice that you're very high up.
Okay.
It's immediate. Up here, everything was fine. Next thing I know, I get to this second slide right here, the second bump, and that's where I was in the air.
You went airborne?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
I felt like I didn't touch back down till about here. And that was scary, because about here is where I noticed I had to be going maybe 60, 70 miles an hour.
Okay.
I'm flying. When I come down here, I feel it just continue, and I get to the water. Instead of splashing in, it just kind of skipped across the top here.
Like a stone on a pond?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Exactly. It was the most traumatic feeling of my life. Then I continued to cross, immediately felt pain as I landed on the concrete, and then I slammed into the retaining wall. I was thinking, oh God, I'm gonna die.
Yes, sir.
It was the most terrifying experience of my entire life.
Yes, sir. You may return to the podium.
Thank you.
Now, Mrs. Simmons, I've been talking like you're not in the room, but I'm watching your face. What was this like for you? You're standing there with your son.
To go from that and seeing him at the top all bubbly to now wondering if your husband's gonna make it, wondering if your son's gonna have a father, that was a drastic change. You know, to see your husband flying into...
Did he see his dad hit the wall?
He did.
And what was his reaction?
He's traumatized, crying. crying in tears.
So you're trying to comfort him. You're frightened about your husband. You're scared.
Exactly, yes.
Pandemonium. Mr. Hargrove, are you a family man?
I am a family man, yes.
You have babies?
Absolutely.
This kind of thing changes a marriage, changes a lot of things that are meaningful, true?
And I truly sympathize with him. But at the same time, it is not the fault of our company. I wish he just would have paid attention to all the warnings that were there ahead of time. We could have really, resolved the whole issue.
Well, how's he to know that?
Okay, so we have signs. When you walk into the park, the sign says, ride at your own risk.
That's the entrance to your park?
Yes, sir.
Was that posted the day that Mr. and Mrs. Simmons and their little boy came into the park?
Yes, sir. It's posted every day.
Now, did you see that sign? Did either of you see that sign?
No, Your Honor.
I mean, it's kind of right there. Why wouldn't you see the sign?
Like he said, they have over 7 million people come during the summer. The park was at full capacity.
You did walk in that entrance, though. I mean,
Yes, I walked in actually to the left.
that is a big sign, though, right? I mean, they make it big like that so 7 million people can see it.
Your Honor,
right?
that's not the only place it is. That is at the beginning, at the entrance, but we have the signs pasted all over the park.
He's doing the bare minimum.
doesn't
He
care
has the
about my
signs
business
for the
at all.
protocol, doing the bare minimum and not really caring about the people. Because you should have told us when we were buying the ticket.
Mr. Simmons, I see from the documents that you submitted to this court that you have $200,000 in medical expenses. Tell me about your injuries.
I broke my neck when I collided into the wall. It was probably the most excruciating pain. I still deal with this every day. I can't turn, I have limited vision. They had to do the fusion and now I have to wear this brace.
Yes, sir.
It makes everything tough, and this isn't my only injury.
Now, you've got your arm up in this sling. Tell me about that.
Yes, so while I took damage to my arm, I broke my collarbone.
Okay. Now, we've got another x-ray. This circle shows a bone broken. Is that your clavicle?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, Your Honor.
How is this and these injuries affected you being a dad?
I feel like I'm not. I can't pick my son up. I see him and he comes in and he'll try to play and I can't because I'm just in excruciating pain.
And that's pretty bad, right?
Yeah, and I sympathize with him. I sympathize with his pain and his suffering.
That's good to hear.
But it's not our fault. He violated the weight policy.
Well, I don't see anything on here about a weight policy. How is it supposed to work?
The weight policy just informs all of our riders that if you're above a certain weight, this is not the ride for you because it could cause you some type of issue. Now,
above a certain weight, what weight?
Yeah, it depends on the ride.
And be careful, I'm a 235 pounds.
Okay, on this ride particular, the weight is 300 pounds.
Okay.
Mr. Simmons is clearly over 300 pounds.
How would he know about the 300-pound limit?
We have a sign. We have a sign posted on the ride.
You've submitted that sign to the court?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's take a look at it. The red circle says maximum weight 300 pounds.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you expect that he would see that?
Yes, sir.
Now, Mr. Simmons, I'm asking here gently, how much do you weigh, sir?
365.
And were you 365 thereabouts on the day that you rode this Devil's Descent?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, sitting here in this courtroom, this looks like it's plain as the day is long that 300 pounds or more, you shouldn't ride this ride. Did you see this sign?
No, Your Honor.
So you weren't paying attention again?
The park is crowded. I mean, how can we see that? You expect the excitement. We're just going in to have a good time.
Your Honor, it's
Nobody
not
can see
crowded
that.
at the top of the slide. There's only one person at a time.
Well, you're reading my mind there, Mr. Hargrove.
He's overweight, sir. He's fat. I'm sorry. He's fat.
Be respectful. We're not going to do that here. That is inappropriate. It is out of line.
Yes, Your Honor.
We're trying to get to the truth here.
Yes, Your Honor. I understand. But it's not my fault that he's overweight. And it's not my fault that he didn't pay attention to the signs. We have them all over the park on each ride.
I just noticed it on this picture right now.
But you do have a responsibility to let us know. Like, you should have a
Someone should have
responsibility to
said
tell us that
Someone should have
he's
said something.
overweight.
Ma'am, we did let you know. We put signs up. We don't have people walking around with microphones checking everybody. It's 7 million people
Well,
there.
you should, because clearly it'll hurt someone if it's overweight.
Other than the weight policy, we have 2 sets of inner tubes that's up there. The smaller inner tubes are for children. The bigger inner tubes are for the adults. Okay, this is the bigger inner tube. This is the inner tube for adults. It has less air in it, so it travels down at a slower rate. He chose to get on the smaller inner tube.
How would he know? How would he know which is for whom?
We're not mind readers.
Apparently, Mr. Hargrove, this is important to you.
Yes,
right?
it's important. And they are separated. They have the small ones are set to the side for children.
Okay.
It says kids, and the large ones are to the other side for adults.
How do they select the tube?
No, we have a lifeguard at the top.
At all times?
At all times.
Okay. And you brought a witness with you. Is this your lifeguard?
This is my lifeguard.
Who was there that day? Miss Annie Davis is your name?
Yes, Your
Would you
Honor.
stand up, please, and come to the podium?
Yes, sir.
When you saw him, did you have any thoughts or concerns about your safety rules?
Yes, sir. I asked him if he was sure that he should be riding the ride, insinuating to him that I thought he may be over the weight limit.
Well, why not just say to him, sir, this is a 300-pound weight limit. I don't know how much you weigh. I don't mean to embarrass you, but if you're over 300 pounds, you can't ride this ride.
I won't be
that was
embarrassed
my
if you're trying to
concern.
save my life.
That was my concern of embarrassing him or offending him, and I assumed that he understood where I was going with that based on the nonverbal communication of
What
the eye
would make
contact.
you assume that?
His eye contact with me and my designating the sign that I was sure that he saw.
I was always taught you were supposed to make eye contact with everyone, so that didn't mean anything. If you felt like my life was in danger.
Miss Davis, when you see that he's going to ride the ride, did you try to stop him?
Sir, I turned around and I noticed that he was using the kid-sized tube. So at that point, I assumed that he was okay with the weight limit and that he was affirming to me he was under it. And so I turned to replace the inner tube that he had grabbed, which is for a child size,
So
with
when
the adult size.
When he reaches to grab the child's inner tube, you took that as he's saying to
He's
you,
confirmed that he's below
I'm
the weight
under
limit.
300 pounds.
As a
Yes, Your
professional,
Honor.
I feel like if you know that my life is on the line at your part, you should be able to say something like.
There's
if
a
you,
lot of assuming. It's a
Again, when
lot
she
of, I
when
assume
she
you
said
wait.
to you, are you
assumed
sure you
this.
want to do this? And you looked at her and kind of nodded. She assumed that you are under the weight. So she reached to give you the correct.
How many
tool,
words
and
are
when
in a
you
nod?
she turned around, you were gone.
How we know
How
that's what
many
she's
words
doing?
are in
How
a
is he
nod?
supposed to
You
know
didn't
that's
look
what
at the
she's
sign.
doing?
You didn't look
Let's
at.
have order in the court. Mrs. Simmons, let's go back. Your husband and you passed two signs and then disregarded two piles. One's big, one's small.
That's the reason why you have people up there to help guide and tell you. If I'm grabbing the wrong tube, tell me. If I'm going to hurt myself on this ride, tell
He
me.
didn't give her a
It's
chance.
not
But
mine.
she didn't even
open her mouth.
Good try.
What's eye contact?
Mr. and Mrs. Simmons, Mr. Hargrove, I think I've heard enough. I'm ready to render my decision. This case has to fit under the legal framework of a personal injury case. There are basically three elements. Personal injury case is like a three-legged stool. If one of them is missing, then the stool fails and so does your case. You all have to prove that Mr. Hargrove and his employees were wrong, that their wrong caused, second leg, your injuries. Clearly you were injured. Now the evidence is not that simple in this case. The evidence in this case, you all went to the park for a good family outing, but it does not go without noticing things that are there to protect you. Mr. Hargrove was very specific in pointing out signs at the entrance and then on the ride, both that tell you, warning, you do this at your own risk. Mr. Hargrove had a sign that had a weight limit on it. Now, both of those, you all have described you basically walking by them, and that troubles me. Then you get to the top, and there are two sets of tubes. You grab the small one without really inquiring as to which one is for adults. You also did not heed, obviously, a gentle but pointed question, should you ride this ride? Now, Mr. Hargrove, these are the essence of your systems and protocols. Safety has to be first. The signs, a lifeguard at the top, someone to warn him, but the should you ride is a little soft when the result can be absolutely tragic. Here, Mr. and Mrs. Simmons, you have proven that Mr. Hargrove's employees were wrong, that first leg of the stool. That is, they violated their own systems and protocols by not stopping you, but I cannot ignore that you disregarded three safety measures that were put in place, so you bear some responsibility. Now, in this case, Mr. and Mrs. Simmons, you are suing for $200,000 in medical expenses, $1.8 million in pain and suffering for a total of $2 million. I am not going to give you that because you are partially responsible. I am reducing your $2 million award sought to $1.5 million. I am going to find in your favor and against Mr. Hargrove for $1.5 million. And this court is adjourned. Our attorneys across America just viewed this case for the first time. Let's hear what Terry Krupin has to say.
Serious injuries can have a devastating effect, not just on the injured victim, but also on their family. This is especially true when the person injured is the primary breadwinner. When they can't work, the paychecks stop, but the bills don't. This stress can be overwhelming. That's why lost wages are such a big part of personal injury settlements.